Did this Utah loss and Dave Aranda's tenure actually make Baylor fans give up on the football program?
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, Bears fans. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Baylor, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day, the number one sports podcast network in the world. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. I appreciate you guys making it your first listen today and every day. I'm your host, Cam Stuart of the Rogue Media Network. Let's talk about the fallout from Saturday against Utah. We got to ask the question, is anybody in the corner of the coach right now? Have the fans completely given up on this program? We have to ask that. And we've got a little help. The worst stat of the Dave Aranda era, and it reflects on this year. We will break down why it's such a microcosm of all that has gone wrong the last few seasons, and who was the bright spot in this game, because there was a bright spot. All that and more coming up on this episode of Locked On Baylor. We start where we start. I used the word embarrassing, and it was embarrassing there on Saturday night. Just everything that went into it. Giving up 55 points, right? Having the opposing team do the dog celebration, lift up their leg and pee all over your grave in your own end zone. The people wanting to shut down the tarps off thing. The fact that they now sit at 5-5 and have a real danger of missing a bowl game entirely. Starting a fight in the fourth quarter when you're down by 21 points. Like, it's all bad. None of it is good. And I'm just really scratching the surface here. But in the post game on Saturday night, I had to do something I'd never done before. After the Auburn game, I had to take a melatonin to make sure I didn't sit up at night, sitting the whole night and thinking about that game. Didn't need to take a shot, didn't need any recreational drugs or anything. I just needed to listen to a few minutes of John Denver before I did it. I just needed to calm down. I needed sunshine on my shoulders, because I was just ready to just yell and scream and throw things about how far this program has fallen. But I've already done that so much. I've done that so much. And the prevailing thought I had while listening to the beautiful chords of John Denver was this: is there anybody in the corner of this regime right now? Is anybody thinking that status quo is good enough for Baylor? Anybody outside of the athletic department and the university president's office? Does anybody think that? Does the Board of Regents think that? Because I know the former players are not in the corner. The alums are not thinking status quo is just fine. I know some parents of the current football players thinking status quo isn't fine. And every fan does not think the status quo is fine. Nobody thinks it's fine. It was apparent again on Saturday night. And now we're looking at these milestone moments of, what is the Baylor loss where we all knew that it was over? Shoot, man, there were losses 2 years ago where we all knew it was over. And here we are 2 years later asking, does Utah scoring 55 on your home field mean that it's over? I have been through a lot as a Baylor fan in a relatively short time, just over a decade of being a Baylor fan. And I know there are plenty of you that listen and watch every day that have been Baylor fans for longer than that. And you've been through a lot as well. But I'll tell you, in the last decade, what we have seen is some great football marred by scandal. I've seen 4 different head coaches. I have seen scandal. I have seen 1-11. I have seen 12-2. I have seen bottom of the barrel losing to an FCS team. I have seen them win the Big 12 championship game. I've been to the Sugar Bowl twice, fellas. Okay, I've seen so much, everything in between. Think of the things we've seen in the last 10 years. When was the last time Alabama fans saw a scandal? When was the last time an Ohio State team went 1-11? It's probably never happened. Some of these fans, even some fans in our conference, have never experienced something like this. We have run the gamut the last 10 years. But for the first time on Saturday night, I saw something new with Baylor football. Through all of that, this was the first time where I said, nobody's on board. We've all given up. What is the hope right now? It was the first time I had seen a Baylor football fan base that had given up. And I'm included in that. Not giving up supporting this team, not giving up supporting these players, not giving up being a Baylor fan. I'm saying giving up on whatever this is right now. Whatever this regime is right now, whatever this tenure is. No one wants it. No one. And that's why you see a half-empty stadium every week. Because even after this generational scandal for Baylor football, even after that, they punched the place out. There were still fans there. There was still belief there. And I think back to, I thought a lot about Matt Rhule's introductory press conference yesterday, actually. I thought a lot about it. Because we know Matt Rhule, used car salesman, right? Take his words with a grain of salt. But when he came in, Baylor was at a very low point, right? And we knew that if they didn't nail this hire, which I think Mack Rhoades did for what it's worth, if they didn't nail that hire, that Baylor could go back to the dark old days. And everyone outside of us in Waco was thinking, Baylor's done. Baylor's never going to get back to anything close to what they had under Art Briles. And in that press conference, Matt Rhule said, we want to win the Big 12 championship and we want to win the national championship. And for all the used car salesman BS that Matt Rhule could dispute at different times, I think he did believe that. And he showed it by getting a team that was not that far away by the time he hung him up in 2019. But right now, does it feel like Dave Aranda is going to take you anywhere close to that? Anywhere close to that? Do you think status quo is going to take you anywhere close to that? We're in the same boat again here without a major scandal, which is tough to do. We're in the boat of you've got to make a dynamite hire here, or you might go back to the old days. And there's no reason that Baylor should be going back to the old days. There's no reason. This conference is strong and stable, but it is winnable year in, year out. Baylor has the stadium. They have the resources. They have the money to go out and get a good coach. And they have the money to go out and get a good team. But status quo is not working. That's why you have a half-empty stadium. Even when a top 15 team in the country is coming to town and it's beautiful weather and it's a night game. Because they don't want to go on like this. And I keep asking the question, and it's how I'll close this segment. And I'll ask it in different ways this week. When is enough enough? How many of these do we need to see before somebody else is taking the head coach's weekly press conference? How many of these do we need to see? How many of these downright embarrassing performances? How much talent do we need to have on the team? And to not have these guys ready week after week after week. How many times do we need to hear, it's frustrated locker room. These kids care a lot. So do we. We care a lot. And we want people who can put these student athletes in better positions to win. And the university administration continues to tell you week after week, and at this point, season after season, screw you. We don't care what you want. This is what we want. We want mediocrity cloaked in being good people. That's what we want. Baylor doesn't think they can have both. Plenty of other programs around the country have both. Baylor doesn't think they can do that. There's one that's very similar in resources, 100 miles up the road from you. They do it. TCU wins 8 games on a down year. They don't have scandals. They do person over player without saying person over player, and they win football games to go along with it. They don't give up 55 on their home field and have fans justifying it because the team that did it's number 13 in the country. I don't care. You should never be giving up 55 points on your home field if you have a damn bit of pride. But here we are. Here we are. And there is a stat out there that is the most damning stat of the Dave Aranda era. We're going to go over it next on Locked On Baylor. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's take you to that stat after this quick word. Today's episode of Locked On Baylor is brought to you by FanDuel. NBA season is here. That's one way of saying basketball season's here, which I know a lot of us like to hear. But the NBA is back. No better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand throughout, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who's going to score next to who's making that fourth quarter comeback. Plus, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at an even bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when it's your team that's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Let me say that again. New customers, $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. There's a lot that I'm kind of willing to overlook with Baylor football if they win games. And right now, they're not winning games. And Saturday night's catastrophe against Utah, 55-28 on your home field, is just another in a long line of examples of this coach not getting it done. The Dave Aranda tenure just going downhill year by year by year. And red flags have been there for years. The only people not seeing them or not giving half a fecal matter is the Baylor administration. Mack Rhodes, Linda Livingstone. They're choosing to not care and just keep it status quo, run it back, let's see what happens. You're seeing what happens here. And by letting a lot of things go, I don't mean kind of Baylor's history. What I mean is, I don't care if Dave Aranda does Berenstein Bears and doesn't, and appreciates the question and talks at a tone that's even lower than this. I don't care. If they're winning games, I don't care. If McLean Stadium has 5,000 visiting fans, 10,000 visiting fans every game, but Baylor's winning, I don't care. I don't care what the uniforms are. I don't care what the game day atmosphere is. If they're winning, but they're not. What I'm not willing to overlook is them continuing to embarrass the university with these scores. That's what I'm not willing to overlook. And that's what the athletic department should not be willing to overlook. But here, what you have is, again, this proclaimed defensive guru. I'm using it. I'm quoting other people here because I'm not supposed to use the term on the show. But Dave Aranda is supposed to be a defensive guru. And this stat came out on Saturday night that is so damning that I don't understand how any institution or athletic department in this great country with any kind of pride, any kind of shame can ignore it. It's from our man Sherman Young, the great Sherman Young, Baylor alum, busting with the boys, friend of the program, all-time Baylor fan. And he puts this out there. Points that I'll read it because a lot of you are listening. Points Baylor's 2025 opponents scored versus them and how those total marks rank for the opponents' point totals versus Power 4 teams. So is this the most they've scored against a Power 4 team? In the case of Auburn, 38 points. Yes, that's first on their schedule. TCU, 42. That's second. Utah, 55. First. Cincinnati, 41. Second. Kansas State, 34. Third. Only bronze medal on the list, by the way. Arizona State, 27, first. SMU, 45, first. And it doesn't even include Oklahoma State, 27, first. How does any athletic department see that and say, run it back? Let's do it again. Let's do it again. How does any athletic department say, you know what, next week, we should have him out there. We should have him coaching up our defense. Teams are breaking the mold. They are busting through the glass ceiling of what they can do offensively when they see Baylor on the schedule. That is your head coach calling the plays defensively. It is an abject disaster. Like, we're not talking about, oh, Cam just has too high of standards. He's just bitching and moaning here. No. Look at this. Look at these stats. Teams have the best days of their season when they play us. It's crazy. Outside of UCF, they're all having career days against Baylor. How much longer do you let that happen? Baylor's played 10 games this year. I just gave you 8 of the teams. The only ones not listed are UCF, your best defensive performance, and Samford, an FCS team. The worst part about all of this on Saturday was that Baylor was not only coming off a bye, they were coming off their best performance of the year. Far and away their best performance of the year. And they gave up 55. They got Abraham Lincoln at Gettysburg. They lost by 4 scores. Like, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, what more do you have to see? And again, I'll bring up what people have said to me in the past. Cam, if it doesn't happen at 3-9, what makes you think it's going to happen now? But there's a good chance they miss a bowl game here. There's a really good chance they're not going to be favored in either of the next 2 games. It's going to take an upset to get there. The team you got next on the road, Arizona, they just went up to Cincinnati and won. You know, you looked like a JV football team going up to Cincinnati a couple weeks ago. Arizona just went up there and won. They beat them. They beat that team. And you think Baylor's going to beat them? I'd love to believe, man. But this program has just become the X-Files. I want to believe. I want to. But how do you believe in this? How do you believe in this stat right here? This is the most damning stat I've seen of maybe the whole Dave Aranda era. Worse than their record against Power 4 teams at home. Worse than their big game record. Worse than all of that. Worse than the 5-5 record with this kind of talent they have, this NFL talent they finally have on the roster for the first time that Dave has recruited guys that are actually going to be NFL prospects, and still they can't get out of their own way. Still, it feels like the lowest point of the 2020s. It's because of stats like this. This defensive genius who every offensive coordinator in the country loves seeing coming on the schedule. Just loves it. Oklahoma State, still one of the worst teams in the Power 4, still the worst team in your conference, had their best day out when they played you. You know, Auburn fired their coach, fired their offensive-minded coach because they can't score points. 38 on you. Best performance of their season. They didn't even do that well against Arkansas. Give me a break, man. This is not just because Utah's number 13 in the country. And I get it. They're kicking everyone else's butt too. But look at that. 38 points to Auburn. 41 to Cincinnati. Like, this is just, it's depressing, man. It's depressing. I don't understand how an administration that supposedly cares about football just says, we got to keep this guy. And they've pigeonholed themselves into being late on a coaching hire. Again, even though there are coaches out there who do want to come here. But they'll say, you know what? We'll fire somebody else. It'll be somebody else's fault again. And what we got to do is get Dave a defensive coordinator. He's got 2 of them. He's got himself and he's got Matt Powledge. And this is the result of it right here. Oh, well, they just don't have the players. Whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? Because I've seen that excuse. Baylor just doesn't have the players. Great. Whose fault is that? The same guy who's calling the plays on defense. That's who. It's his fault. You can't give him credit for hiring good assistant coaches like a Jake Spavital and then say, well, they don't have the players, because that's his responsibility as well. And if he can't handle that responsibility, then why don't you do what we've been begging for years now and move the F on? Get somebody else who can do it. But this stat right here, what other teams do to Baylor's defense, that can't be acceptable anywhere. And yet we're in the upside down. It's acceptable here. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. What is the worst stat of the Dave Aranda era at Baylor? If you've got another one, let me know. Thank you to Sherm. Thank you to Sherm for putting that out there. It's a great stat. I wish I had done the research myself, honestly. It's that good. But these teams, they just have their field days against Baylor. They love seeing Baylor on the schedule. There is going to be a bank run whenever the schedule is being made for next year. Everyone falling all over each other saying, can we get Baylor on homecoming, please? Please, God, please. Like if they can, Baylor will be playing 3 straight road games in the middle of October for everybody else's homecoming because they see this. It's a joke. It's a joke of a program right now, and it's damn unfortunate because it doesn't have to be. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. It's the #1 Baylor football show on YouTube and the #1 sports podcast network in the world, Locked On Podcasts, your team every day. Don't go anywhere just yet. We're not done. Is there a silver lining in this? Was there a performance that we could hang our hat on and say, hey, at least that's good? I know there was one for me on this game on Saturday. Let's talk about it next on Locked On Baylor. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. If you want to be there the Saturday after Thanksgiving to see the Bears take on the Houston Cougars and have bowl eligibility on the line, Game Time is the place to go. It's the only place I go to buy tickets because, let's be real, going anywhere else, it's such a hassle. It's more stressful than the game itself, right? The endless queues, the hidden fees, the prices jumping at checkout. I hate it. I don't want any more of it. That's why I use Game Time. It's the app that gives the advantage back to me and to you, the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices. No surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. The app makes it super simple. I can see the exact view from my seat before I hit purchase. And look, I can find a Baylor game for under $25 right now. And I know what the best deals are because they tell me what the best deals are. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, all one word, for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. I know you guys don't need my job description here. A lot of you make it your first listen today and every day, and I appreciate the heck out of that. You don't need my job description, but I'll just briefly say I don't need to adhere to anybody in terms of we need a positive angle on anything. Because really, there wasn't but maybe one positive angle out of that game Saturday. I'm doing this for me as well as for you, okay? So that I can feel somewhat good about something going on in this Baylor football program right now. And the one highlight I got to take away from that game on Saturday is a double-edged sword because it was great, but it's all going to be over in probably 2 weeks. Because the guy I got to highlight today, once again, and I probably haven't highlighted him enough this season, is Josh Cameron. Like I almost got emotional talking about him on Saturday in the postgame. And I've never met him, by the way. But we talk about it all the time. When you are rooting for your alma mater, you have this fantasy land idea that those guys out on the field care as much about your alma mater as you do. When in reality, a lot of them don't. Some of them very much do. Every team has guys that do. I don't want it to sound like, that we're in an inferno and that nobody cares about it, right? But when you see the guys that do care about it, it sticks out, right? And I think there are, and here's the really sad part about this Baylor football season is I think there are a lot of guys on this team that do care about this team and this university and the people that go to it. Bryson Washington, man, game of his season on Saturday. But the guy I got to highlight is Josh Cameron. 13 catches, 165 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Targeted him 20 times. He had the game of his life in this game. And again, he is, one of the many examples on this team of the good parts of this football program. Right? Josh Cameron came in here as a walk-on. He wanted to come here. And he has paid his dues and become a star here as a former walk-on. Has an awesome year last year with 10 touchdowns. And believe me when I tell you, there were all kinds of teams hitting up Josh Cameron in the offseason, including some in the SEC, that were willing to pay him a lot of money to go there and have a chance at a college football playoff and potentially a national championship. That's the kind of programs we're talking about. A couple of them are still very much in the mix as college football playoff teams right now. And instead, he took less money, a bump, but less money than what those schools were offering to stay at Baylor. Like, that should be the epitome of what we want here. And I know Sawyer Robertson was getting offers, Bryson Washington was getting offers, Jackie Marshall was getting offers. Josh Cameron's not the only guy. What it epitomizes when it's looking like a low point of the decade, Josh Cameron is out there scratching and clawing for every inch. 13 for 165. And I say it's double-edged sword because guy's a senior, man. He's got 2 more Baylor games left that are guaranteed. Maybe a third. He's gone after this. And that is something I got to get into on tomorrow's show. He's not the only one. There's not a lot of talent coming back next year that have played snaps in college football. There's not a lot coming back. The cupboard is fairly bare. No pun intended. Obviously, you've got good recruiting classes coming in, and there's some talent. I shouldn't say, maybe that was the wrong choice of words. There is some talent. But this was supposed to be the year that it was going to come together, and it is not. It has not. While the defense was giving up 20 points in the fourth quarter to backups, Josh Cameron was out there scratching and clawing for every yard. So that was the only positive I took from this game. And it's fleeting. It's fleeting positivity. But right now, this season is sinking to the bottom of Lake Superior right now. The gales of November have hit this team hard. And I just got to wonder when it's going to stop, when there's going to be some actual change here. Let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. It helps me keep my job, helps us out a lot on the path towards 5,000 subscribers and letting me know that there are fans out there who have not given up on Baylor football. I know most of you listening have not. You've been great all season long. It was an awesome post-game live chat. Once again, I really appreciate you guys for hopping in there. Thank you so much for making it your first listen today and every day. It means the world to me. And we'll be back here tomorrow on your favorite show, the #1 Baylor football show on YouTube. It's Locked On Baylor.